I'd like to invite now, first of all, Moshe Bellows, who came from the States for this session, an Israeli, investing in both American and Israeli companies, early stage. And Yodfat, Harel Buchris, who is the managing director of Blumberg Capital, who also invests in both Israeli and American companies.
Yeah, so Moshe, let's gear it up.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so thank you for coming back from drinking some coffee, and it's always good in this time of the day. You're still allowed. And we are trying to actually give you a perspective of the US investors. Why now? And what will happen day after tomorrow? And how to tell our story when we enter the US, right? And who's best to tell us what to do and recommend us than yourself?
It's a lot of pressure to represent the entire American VC community,
Yeah.
but I'm going to do my best.
I'll help you.
Thank you.
So we have been hearing the entire morning how resilient the founders are and how strong our market is. But the question is how actually the US investors sees this when we come to a meeting and they actually ask us, guys, how are you? How have you been? What's going on in your country? And if there is something that we would like you to come out with after this session is to know how to tell the story and to actually succeed in raising money, getting more additional customers, and leaving the investor or your counterparty with the thought that Israel still is the best place to invest in, right? So how many entrepreneurs do we have here in the audience? Everyone.
How many funders are in the audience? So
Okay.
founders and funders. Great.
Great.
Terrific.
So let's start.
Okay, so I just want to give a little bit of my background for context. Moshe Bellows. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. I now live in New York City. Before I start, I just want to say everyone's been thanking me for coming. And I just really want to thank all of you. I know it's a little kitschy and sort of a little emotional about it, but those of us affiliated Jews in America really feel very deeply and strongly that you are defending our freedoms, you are defending our land as well. And it's hard when I walk around and you say thank you to me. It is we who need to say thank you to you, both all of you that are fighting, all of you that are taking care of your families while brothers, sisters, mothers, and fathers are doing all of that, and we're in complete awe of that. So I just wanted to open up with a thank you for that. My connection to Israel, and there are a lot of Americans that feel, American Jews and non-Jews that feel the same way. We'll talk about that a little bit. I also want to say that it's very personal for me. I have 19 family members serving in Tzava, and I grew up with John and Rachel Polin, who are from Chicago, whose son Hirsch is a hostage. And this summer, and we'll talk about it a little later, I have one of my summer interns' best friend is a hostage. So it's incredibly personal, and I am super happy to be here, and you're doing me a favor, not the other way around.
Wow, thank you. And I thought that my two officers' sons that are serving the army is a lot, but 19 family members. Wow, thank you.
Thank God.
So you know what? Let's start with this maybe. So we have seen that $4.7 billion was invested by the Qatarians in different institutions in the US, universities, hospitals, research centers. Did we fall asleep on our guard?
Yeah, so I'm very involved in the on-campus movements in the States. I've been going to Apartheid Week on college campuses. I have 17 nephews and nieces in various college campuses. I will speak particularly about Columbia. I live 12 blocks from Columbia. Anti-Semitism in America is real. Yes, it might be a vocal minority, but they're very vocal. Just this week in New York, there was an anti-Semitic attack in my neighborhood on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. And as you probably read, a subway car, a New York City subway car was taken over by pro-Palestinian folks, and they were asking people on the train who was a Zionist. Imagine that, in New York City, who was a Zionist? And they were either kicking you off or people were running off, and it was an unbelievable situation. I mean, imagine if my kids were on that train, imagine if I was on that train. I kind of know what I would do, but that's another discussion. So anti-Semitism is real, so fine. How does that translate into what you folks are doing, right? So it used to be really easy, and those of you that are VCs in the crowd, we used to say, hey, it's not good enough to know, to get a meeting at a VC, right? You should know who the partner is. And is that partner an expert in your vertical, right? That's the advice that we would give. Well, now it's really different. It's different for founders and it's different for VCs. Our language has to change. The questions that we're asking have to be different. So as an example,
When you're saying we, it means founders?
I think founders and other VCs. So let's start with VCs talking to founders. So this happened to me this week. There's a company we want to invest in. It's a very progressive company, which is fine. I didn't know where they stood on Israel. And again, not to get political, but I want to back people that certainly aren't Israel haters, Jew haters, and so that's kind of important to me. And so I had to learn, and this is what I would recommend, I'm a recovering attorney, I'm a lawyer. Talk to your HR department first. What questions am I allowed to ask? What am I not allowed to ask? Then for each person, what are you comfortable asking and what are you not comfortable asking?
Maybe you can share some examples.
Yeah, so for instance, for me this week, I started the conversation, and I think this is where maybe Israelis aren't great at this yet, but you can be. Do a lot more listening than talking.
My father used to tell me, you have 2 years and 1 month, okay? So...
B'diuk. So the question that I asked to start this conversation, and it was very new to me, so I'm not perfect at it, but Maccabee Ventures, we invest in North America and Israel. Is that something you're comfortable with? So then I got the ball rolling. So what did that mean to them? I didn't talk about politics. I particularly didn't talk about politics or personalities or anything, but I was very clear that we invest in Israel. How does that make you feel? Or is that okay with you or whatever? I don't really care if it's okay. I just want the reaction. And so that was a really big moment for me.
And if they would have said, yes, we do care.
So I'll tell you what she said. And I was not so comfortable with it. She said, as long as you don't make me make statements, I think it's fine.
Okay, so as a founder, if I was sitting in the chair, I would be moving very uncomfortably. And this is, by the way, guys, this is what we're seeing with some of the partners, VCs that we have these days, not just coming from the US, but also coming from Europe. And you're absolutely right. Choosing the right partner within a VC is always important. But now choosing the right partner, meaning that you're not just relying on them to support you in time of needs like we are seeing today, but it's also kind of a marriage, right? I wouldn't say Catholic because you're wearing kippah, but it's kind of important. And when you go to a new VC, if you don't come to us, then you missed it. But if you are going to another VC, please do a lot more business intelligence than in the past. It's always a good example to learn who you're sitting in front of. But this time, it's from a different angle. And I think that you have some more examples that could
Yeah.
give some color here.
I think also, knowing the particular partner that you're going to speak to at a VC firm, but I'm doing it now routinely. What do the other partners in the firm feel about Israel? What statements have they made? What statements have they not made? It's really important. You're going to be taking money. It's a marriage. It's a 10-year relationship minimally. A VC's job, we view our job as value add, as helping our company. If they're not behind you, not only do we take care of the financial needs, hopefully, but after October 7th, we were making sure all of our portfolio families were okay. What needs did they have? We made those calls. That was really important to us. That was way more important to us than the money, frankly. And both Bruce and I came here, very often since October 7th. But what do other partners do? Imagine a partner meeting on Monday morning when they're talking about your company, right? So even if your partner is supportive, but there are 3 other partners in the firm that are not, what's going to happen to your company, right? Our job is to de-risk, right, our investments. You guys need to know, founders and other VCs, who's sitting around that table. And if you're not doing that already, you need to talk to your partners, your co-founders, and figure out what are the questions and how am I getting this information, because it's really important. And I would say, back to what Yodfat was saying, there are great people out there. There's VC group. Where's Ilan? Is he here? Regenbaum? He has a great community of VCs that you can ask. That's our job. Our job is, who are you talking to? Who else at that firm? What have they said? What have they done? Have they, really done the work for the Israeli portfolio companies? It's really important. Otherwise, you're going to be up on a shelf, or when your next funding round comes along, it's going to be super hard for you.
So let's say that we chose the right VC, and we even married with the right partner. Do you think that Israeli companies these days will get lower valuations than their American competitors? Because what we have seen in numbers and data coming from the US is that it's true that the number of Israeli companies, or Israeli registered companies, is getting smaller. Just for your information, I'm sure that you all know that, but in 2023, only 600 new companies were registered, startup were registered in the US. The majority was founded in Delaware. And what we have been seeing in the last 2 quarters is the same trend. So how do you relate to that? I have my answer for my own fund, but how do you
start?
No, please go ahead.
I think there's some binary action going on. I think Israel's had a couple of large later stage investments, and by the way, we're super proud that in our portfolio, our top 3 performers, FundGuard, which did a $100 million round
Together.
right? Agora, which is a real estate management platform, just did a Series B, and Elios Health, which is AI for mental health. And I don't know if they're here, but we're super proud of that. So I think sort of at the later stages, we're seeing some big rounds, particularly in the 3 areas, fintech, cyber, and operational software, but that's like 70% of those big rounds. So that's on the lower end, where we live in pre-seed and seed, we are seeing rational valuations, I would say, rational valuations, lower valuations, and I think we are all waiting for some more traction and conviction. So I think that's been slowing down.
So would you say that American VC would rather invest in US companies rather than Israeli companies, despite the fact that here they can get lower valuations maybe and far better talent?
I think it depends how hard they have to work. I mean, VCs are notorious. I mean, the majority of VCs are notoriously, I don't want to use the word lazy pejoratively, but the harder you make it for them, the less apt they're going to be to do that. So, I think there's also different buckets of VCs. Like there's the totally pro-Israel, Tsioni, there are those that really understand what Shmona Matayim is. One of the things that I did, I'm very friendly with the Shmona Matayim Association, and you probably know him. And what was amazing to me is the pre-seed and seed communities in New York, the VC communities, don't know what Shmona Matayim is. Can you imagine?
No.
Can you imagine?
Kidding.
Like literally. Like, so I went to Primary Ventures, who's a venture fund that I love, and they have great community. They did not know what Shmona Matayim was. And so we're now running these events to introduce them to the great talent that we have here, which I find amazing.
It is amazing.
And that's part of what I think Blumberg's job is, my job is, and other VCs that are firmly in the pro-Israel camp. We have to grow our tent. We have to grow our tent. And so I would say, again, to the founders and VCs that are in this audience, every time you're talking to somebody, it is an opportunity to develop a relationship. Whether it's a no or a yes, we have to grow our tent. And everyone is watching. And you are a representative of all of us. And you can either screw that up or you can make it better. I tell my students, I teach with Bruce for 6 years. I teach at Yeshiva University. We have 220 students. And you only get one opportunity to ruin your shem tov, right? You only get one chance to ruin your good name. And they're not doing it on my watch. I will not have it. So when you guys are out there, every VC you're talking to, you're either making it easier or harder for the next Israeli company, for the next founder that's walking through that door. That's an awesome responsibility. It's an awesome responsibility. So when you choose not to write a thank you follow-up letter, whether it's a yes or a no, you're making an impression. And I know that might sound silly and childish, but it matters. It matters that you take that time. So do that.
So we promised them to give them the most, important tip of them all, how to tell the story of the war. When you come to raise money in the US or when you come to sell your product to one of the largest companies in the world and they ask you, how are you? What should they say? Okay?
Yeah, so it's a really tough question to ask an American who doesn't have any children fighting, or I'm not fighting, or I'm not away from my
Because
family.
what they're seeing in CNN is not what we are seeing here in Oct.7.
100%. So I want to be very careful with how I answer this question, so sort of bear
Be
with me.
careful. We're among Israelis. Come on.
It's true.
Talk to us on our language.
But yeah. So I think you tell the truth. I think feelings matter, and I don't think we should be afraid of our feelings. What I would say is, and maybe again, Israelis aren't great at this, a lot of times they're going to try to bait you. And let me explain what I mean by that. When I'm interviewing a founder for investment, I will ask many questions, and some of them will be to see not what you answer, but also how you answer. And I will ask follow-ups, and sometimes my interns will be like, why did you ask that? Or that was like a little uncomfortable. I want to see how someone pushes back and talks about it. So a good VC is going to do that to you, founders, okay? And if you go straight into, again, I don't want to take sides here, but this politician sucks and said this politician sucks and said that, or whatever, you're making a big mistake. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have strong politics or care about who you want to care about. It's fine. But you don't need to wear that on you don't need to project that at your first meeting with the founder, and they're going to see how passionate you are. And I'm not saying don't be passionate. I don't want anyone to come over to me afterwards and be like, I'm not hiding my politics. I'm not talking about hiding. I'm talking about being baited. There's a difference. And no matter how much you think that they really care about what your position is, they really don't. They're seeing how you react to those kinds of questions. Because they're going to have to put you up at a partner meeting. They're going to have to introduce you to the next round of funding. And they want to see where you are and how you share information. So I know to you in the moment, it's going to be like, I can change someone's mind. I am amazing. That's not what it's about. Right? Again, I'm not saying hide your politics or hide the fact that you're an Israeli or a Jew. God forbid, I would never say that. But understand where it's coming from and what they really want.
Reservist founders, that came out of Gaza, flying to the US, tired, but very passionate about his startup. Should he say that?
Freaking heroes, by the way.
Yeah.
And thank you. By the way, I'll tell you a crazy story. So we invested in this company, and this guy was in Gaza. Everyone's in Gaza. I feel terrible saying that. And this American lone soldier had been in Gaza for 5 months, and I'm friendly with him, and we invested in him. And then I was having this guy from 669, the rescue thing, and he was
You're
coming.
good, you know all the
I try. And well, I want them to speak to Americans and whatever. So he was speaking, so I invited my friend, and it was this 669 guy that rescued my friend. It was a moment. It was crazy. So here's the deal. It's like I would tell my students, right? So a lot of my students, I teach at Yeshiva University, I teach venture capital, and many of them have served in Sava, and it's awesome. And I think in the beginning, a long time ago, it was a big debate. Do I put that on my resume? I don't think there's a debate. I think you put it on your resume. Why? First of all, they're incredible transferable skills, and that's amazing. Period. Full stop. Secondly, I want to know, second one, why would I want to take money from somebody who then learns that I was an Israeli soldier and doesn't support that, and now I'm screwed because I'm in a 10-year marriage? I say live it loud and proud, wear it on your sleeve as a badge of freaking honor, and if people don't like me because of that or want me because of that, screw
Yay.
them.
Great answer. Thank you. That was a good one, Moshe.
I was like Israeli there.
Yeah,
That
you
was
can
felt,
be our ambassador. Our
felt
next,
great. I love this.
our next ambassador to the land of high tech, right?
I'm up for it.
So our title is Uncle Sam. I don't know why it's not Aunt something, but it's Uncle Sam. So what will happen, let's say, coming your election, no politics,
Yeah.
but is Israel is still going to be in the center of the debate? And what impact will this have on us investors investing in Israel?
Yeah, so I think whether we like it or not, we Jews are always we're the center of the world. Like whether we run it or not, they're gonna say we do. So I don't think, and again, I think the election matters, but I think whoever gets elected, we're still gonna be at the center of that, and I think that we need to have more friends and more influencers in our camp. I think that in America, my personal opinion, we'll see if time will tell, the calmness on college campuses because it's summer. I think that some people are getting lulled into a false sense of security. And again, I have nieces and nephews on those campuses, but let's say Columbia. You guys can all send me an email. I think that the second the school year starts, those encampments are happening again at Columbia, unless they make great rules over the summer, which I haven't seen yet, and I'm in touch with senior people at those institutions. So I think it comes back. I think that hopefully the Jewish community, who has been sleeping at the wheel, in my humble opinion, for 10 years, acts differently, and I think we are doing that. But I think it's going to be more of the same for a little while. I do think, and again, I don't want to end on a negative note, it will depend what happens in the north. And I think that's kind of...
That's true. I think we have a slide prepared for you guys with all the tips how to actually, convince Uncle Sam that Israel is still the best place to be. So if you want some tips, you can actually
check that out. Okay, so Israel investment is steadily recovering. Agree, check. We are each individually and collectively responsible. Yes. Tactically inquire. Excellent. Please remember the word tactfully. The right partner in VC firm. Understand the internal politics at firms. Trusted VC firms like Blumberg and Maccabee should help you navigate co-investors. Yes, bridge business, cultural, and spiritual gaps.
Yes, and we can assure you that we will continue to invest in Israel, even though now it looks like very difficult times, but there are always opportunities in these difficult times.
Amen.
So maybe we'll push you a little bit harder on valuation, and we'll push you a little bit harder on KPIs, but together we will overcome this. So
I just want to close
hopefully-
with one thing. I want to say that Yodfat and Blumberg, I will tell you, and Bruce, in America have an incredible Shem Tov and have done incredible things for the Jewish and non-Jewish pro-Israel communities in the States, and it is well known, and I am so honored to be sitting on a stage with you,
Thank you.
and so honored to call Bruce a friend.
Same here, and hopefully we'll have more companies together, and
Amen.
hoping together with you that all the hostages will come back as
Amen.
soon as possible. Thank you for listening.
Amen.